Good evening. This is Daily News from Addis Standard, broadcasting from Addis Ababa. Today is Tuesday, April 14th, 2026. Here are the top stories we're following tonight. Hamdok says civilian role at Berlin talks marks shift on Sudan. Former Sudanese Prime Minister Abdallah Hamdok says the inclusion of civilian voices in upcoming talks in Berlin marks a significant shift in efforts to end the war in Sudan. The conference, co-hosted by Germany, the African Union, European Union, France, United Kingdom, and the United States, will mark the third anniversary of the conflict. Hamdok said previous meetings lacked civilian participation, but the new format includes Sudanese civil society groups in a structured form. He emphasized that a political process is the only path forward, calling for humanitarian access, civilian protection, and a negotiated settlement. The conflict began in April 2023 between forces led by Abdel Fattah al-Burhan and Mohamed Hamdan Dagalo. The talks signal renewed efforts to find a political solution as the war enters its third year. Xi proposes four-point plan for Middle East peace. Xi Jinping has outlined a four-point proposal aimed at promoting peace and stability in the Middle East during talks in Beijing. The proposal was presented in a meeting with Khalid bin Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan of the United Arab Emirates. According to Chinese officials, the plan emphasizes principles of peaceful coexistence, respect for national sovereignty, adherence to international law, and balancing development with security. The proposal comes amid ongoing regional tensions, with Beijing positioning itself as a proponent of diplomatic solutions. The meeting reflects China's continued engagement in Middle East affairs and its call for stability through multilateral cooperation. Ethiopia grants tax relief to free trade zone investors. Ethiopia has announced income tax exemptions for investors operating in free trade zones who supply goods to the domestic market. In a statement, the Ministry of Finance said the measure aims to address ongoing challenges in industrial development, including capital shortages, supply disruptions, and limited skilled labor. Under the free trade zone system, investors can import inputs without upfront duties, paying only after securing a market. Officials say this helps ease pressure on working capital and improve access to essential inputs. The new tax relief is intended to further attract both domestic and foreign investors and boost local production. Authorities say the combined incentives are expected to strengthen supply chains and support industrial growth. The move reflects ongoing efforts to enhance Ethiopia's investment environment. China criticizes US Hormuz blockade, urges ceasefire. China has condemned the United States over its blockade of the Strait of Hormuz, calling the move dangerous and irresponsible. Speaking in Beijing, Foreign Ministry spokesperson Guo Jiakun warned the blockade could escalate tensions, undermine a fragile ceasefire, and threaten maritime security in the region. He urged all parties to pursue a comprehensive ceasefire, adhere to agreements, and prioritize dialogue to restore stability and safe navigation. The U.S. said it would enforce the blockade following the collapse of talks with Iran aimed at ending the conflict. The remarks come amid heightened tensions in the Middle East, as diplomatic efforts to de-escalate the situation face setbacks. War drives 70% of Sudanese into poverty, UN warns. A senior United Nations Development Program official says nearly 7 in 10 people in Sudan are now living in poverty, almost double pre-war levels. Speaking to AFP, UNDP representative Luca Renda said poverty has surged from about 38% before the conflict to roughly 70% today, based on a $4 a day threshold. He added that at least a quarter of the population survives on less than half that amount. Conditions are especially severe in conflict-hit regions such as South Kordofan and North Darfur, where deprivation affects up to 3/4 of residents. Now in its fourth year, the war has killed tens of thousands, displaced more than 11 million, and deepened food insecurity affecting over 21 million people. As donors prepare to meet in Berlin, the UN warns the conflict is not only a humanitarian crisis, but a growing threat to Sudan's future. UN, over 12,000 Ethiopian refugees in Sudan's Blue Nile amid rising tensions. The UNHCR says more than 12,000 Ethiopian refugees are currently living in Blue Nile State, an area facing growing insecurity and cross-border tensions linked to the ongoing conflict in Sudan. In its latest update, UNHCR reported that a total of 68,750 Ethiopian refugees and asylum seekers are in Sudan, accounting for about 8% of the country's overall refugee population. Of these, 12,675 are hosted in Blue Nile, mainly in Wad al-Mahi camp, while the majority, over 44,000, reside in Gedaref state. The agency noted that 73% of Ethiopian refugees live in camps, with the rest in urban or out-of-camp settings. It also reported that Sudan's conflict has displaced around 273,000 refugees internally from Khartoum to other regions. The developments come amid heightened tensions in border areas and a worsening humanitarian situation as conflict continues to shape refugee movements and living conditions across Sudan. That's all for tonight's Daily News. Thank you for watching. For continuous updates and detailed reporting, visit addisstandard.com. Have a peaceful night